It's showtime, people! Hey, it's Edwin Canistracci here. Woo! Dime Dave time. Dave TV. Check it out. MGD, of course. Save the MGD. It's more than a beer. It's a state of mind. Get with it. Let me take off these sunglasses in a really cool kind of TV detective kind of way. Yeah. This is a coda to the Van Halen Rank-A-Rama. People are gonna wonder, hey, I ranked Van Hagar albums alongside the Van Halen albums, and if you're curious to see how I ranked them, and you for some reason hit this video first before seeing that one, then by all means, brother or sister, you go back and you watch the Van Halen Rank-A-Rama first. You need to watch that first. I don't want to have to explain myself. I already did that. I spent a whole drunken night talking about Van Halen and Van Hagar and Van Sharon. That's how you say his name. I call him Gary Canoli, but I think his name's Sharon or something like that. So if you want to know what I think about all those albums, go there. Needless to say, though, I'm a huge Van Halen fan of David Lee Roth, because how could you not be? That shouldn't even be in question, So I don't think there's any debate there. Is there? Come on. Van Halen with Diamond Dave, it's the best. But, like Van Hagar, David Lee Roth solo is, that is something that's debated by many people. A lot of people, I'd say a lot of people think his solo career is not too hot, save for maybe the first solo album, Eat 'Em and Smile. After that, opinions vary, just like Patrick Swayze, just like his character Dalton says in Roadhouse, opinions vary. And you're going to find out what I think. David Lee Roth, he wasn't that prolific in his solo career, just like Van Halen wasn't after he left. He only has, what is it, 6? He only has 7 solo albums and 1 EP, which I'm going to count. Normally I don't count EPs in my Rank-A-Ramas, but I will count Crazy from the Heat because that's essentially the beginning of his solo career. It was a big deal, that EP. And, well, he doesn't have that many albums, so why not? So I'm going to count that, all right? So we'll say 8. 8 albums. So, overall, not that much. And I will say this. Here's a little spoiler. I give David Lee Roth the edge over post-Dave Van Halen. I'll say that because that includes Van Halen 3, not just Van Hagar stuff. So, overall, I think David Lee Roth did a little bit better without Van Halen than Van Halen did without him. I'm not talking commercially, obviously. Obviously, Van Hagar did better, had more record sales than David Lee Roth solo. Although initially they're close, but eventually, by the early 90s, Van Hagar clearly left Dave in the dust. Commercially speaking, if that's what it's all about. I don't know, these people that bring, sales stats to a creative discussion. Like, hey, where am I? Am I some suit at a record label? I don't give a shit about how much these records sell or don't sell. I care about how awesome they are or aren't. So, so I don't really care that Van Hagar albums sold more than David Lee Roth albums. One way or the other, So I'm going to like what I like, and I don't care if a whole bunch of other people like it, or if a whole bunch of other people don't like it. It's not going to decide for me what I think is awesome. So, that being said, so we're not talking about commercial success, all right? So just so that's understood, all right? But if we're talking about creative success in the albums that I think have held up, stood the test of time, I got to say I give Dave the edge. But it's not like some resounding win. Like Van Hagar, David Lee Roth starts off strong in his solo career and eventually, slowly but surely, kind of putters off. And by the time you get to the mid-90s, it's real clear that both Eddie Van Halen and David Lee Roth need to get back together. They need each other. They can't do their best music without each other. It's like, it's like a divorce. After you get the divorce, you lose some weight, you go out there, start screwing again, and it looks like, I'm better than ever. I don't need that other person. But then, a few years later, it just kind of all turns to shit. So in that sense, I feel like that happened to both Dave and Van Halen to varying degrees after the split up. They both started off strong, and then before you knew it, they were both kind of in the same situation by the mid-90s. And what do you know? That's when they did their first failed attempt at a reunion with Dave. They did those 2 tracks, which, by the way, I didn't talk about in the Van Halen Rank-A-Rama, but those 2 tracks, those 2 new tracks at the time that they had done with Dave for the first Best of compilation, I love both those songs. They're both awesome songs. And it's like, immediately, you hear the magic. It's not even just with Dave's vocals. Eddie plays differently when Dave's there. There's just an edge. Like, as soon as you hear those first couple Eddie notes, it just feels like Van Halen, like proper Van Halen. The soul of Van Halen's there. So there's just something that these guys bring out in each other. It's magic. It's spooky magic, spooky, awesome rock and roll magic. They bring it out in each other. And you hear it, and I love those 2 tracks. They're great. And then they did the MTV Video Awards fiasco, which I talked about in the Rank-A-Rama. And essentially, Dave fucked up. He pissed off Eddie Van Halen. And as a result, we got Van Halen 3 with Gary Cannoli instead of David Lee Roth. And then they try again here and there over the years to try to make it happen again. Because it's real clear when Van Halen 3 didn't set the sky on fire, it was clear that they needed to get back with Dave, but it was tough. It was tough to get those guys back together. And, eventually Wolfgang really did some great work there. Eddie's son, Wolfgang, really helped to bring them back together. And this led to, several successful tours and the Different Kind of Truth album, which is a triumphant album, which I love. And if you want to know how much I love that album, watch the Rank-A-Rama. Or watch it again if you watched it once, but say, hey, I need to refresh my memory. I'm not going to get as drunk as I was in that video. Just going to tell you now, if you're expecting me to drink like that in every video, God damn it, you are some merciless motherfuckers, all right? I got to stay healthy, man. Got to stay healthy so I can make more videos for you people. All right, so let's do it. So the headline here, David Lee Roth, best Van Halen without him, creatively speaking. But only a little bit. Only a little bit. Sorry, I'm not going to say, even though I love David Lee Roth, I'm not one of these blind fans that's going to act like everything he did in his solo career was awesome. Because it wasn't. For the most part, I like most of his albums and most of his output, and I think it's interesting. But did David Lee Roth ultimately end up doing and being everything I thought he could have been outside Van Halen? No, sadly, I don't think he did. I don't think he lives up quite to the promise of perhaps that first album of his. But still a lot of interesting stuff. And hell, let's get into it. Let's boogie. Let's do this. Rank-A-Rama time. Okay, making the magic happen with the MGD bottle. This will make the graphics appear. The numbers and the graphics will appear after I do this. It's Warlock type shit. I got powers. Rank-A-Rama time. Bottom of the barrel. The worst thing David Lee Roth ever did. I don't think he did anything bad with Van Halen. So that might spoil my Van Halen Rank-A-Rama if you didn't see it already. But no, nothing bad with Van Halen. Everything Diamond Dave did with Van Halen is fucking solid gold. I wasn't crazy about one song, Dancing in the Streets, and that's a cover. But everything else, I love. Amazing stuff. So in a sense, this is really the only lackluster thing David Lee Roth has ever done is, in my opinion, actually this album. I gotta be honest about it. This album is not too hot. 2003's Diamond Dave. Ooh, believe me, I want to like this album, and I tried. I gave it a shot. I love Dave. I'm gonna give it a shot. I listened to it, at least 5 times in my life, and 2 of those times were like this past week in preparation for this video. It's essentially a cover album. I think it's all covers, isn't it? Anyway, Might as well all be. This is a side of Dave. We know, going back to Diver Down, some fans like that they did covers, some don't. For me, I thought the Van Halen covers were good for the most part. I only didn't like Dancing in the Streets. And let's put it this way. Diver Down was a nice balance of covers and original material. Ultimately, if we're getting a whole album from Dave, if there's some covers on it, it would be fine. But all covers, I feel like if it's all covers, it's like obviously Dave's not trying that hard. He doesn't want to write stuff. And it's too bad because David Lee Roth is an amazing lyricist. He's a great songwriter. And it's disappointing when he falls into this Vegas act that just wants to be like a traditional entertainer. And he has that side. Very similar to Alice Cooper in a lot of ways. Both Alice Cooper and David Lee Roth have this inclination to sometimes get very cornball, old school entertainer variety show. Variety show or Vegas style, Atlantic City style singer. And I love Frank Sinatra. I love a lot of that old timey shit too. And sometimes I don't mind them when they stick their toes into it a little bit. But when they totally surrender to that side, regarding both Dave and Alice, whenever they both get too into that side, I'm not as into it. I think it's a little corny, and I expect better from both of them. And I expect better from Dave. A few of these, you got the blues, just kind of bluesy, kind of rock. Shoe Bop's all right. It's like an all right rocker song. That's a Steve Miller song. They, kind of an all right Soul Kitchen. Oh, that Jimi Hendrix cover of 6 Was 9, horrible. He makes it into this like kind of techno dance song. Oh, that's an affront to rock and roll. What the fuck are you doing, Dave? What are you doing? This is what Billy Sheehan meant when he said you just wanted to make dance music. Man, this is dance music. It's shit. It's shit, and it's not good dance music. It's shitty techno, and you turned one of Jimi Hendrix's greatest songs into it. And then the thing you call the Beatles tune, which is just a shitty cover of Tomorrow Never Knows. And it's like, man, there are so many Beatles covers that I think Dave would be great singing. He manages to pick the one song I would say no, totally no. Don't do Tomorrow Never Knows. What? No, that doesn't fit you, Dave. That's not good. Thug Pop's kind of all right. It's kind of heavy. Oh, what do you know why? You know why that's kind of all right? It's an original. Yeah, I just looked at that. Yeah, Tim and John 5. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Okay, so that's the best song on the album. The one original he did of John 5, Thug Pop. I dig that. That's a nice heavy track. More evidence that Dave should be doing original material. All right? He does another version of Ice Cream Man, which ain't as good as the original Van Halen one. Bad Habits, old-timey kind of crooner song. I'll say this. It's not like the worst album ever recorded, but it's definitely the worst album David Lee Roth ever recorded. And I probably, if we're comparing this to what I think is the worst Van Halen album, which I'll just say it here, fuck it, Balance. Balance is my least favorite Van Halen album. I probably like this album a little bit better, so I give it the edge on Balance, but I kind of respect Balance a little bit more because it's more, it's original. It's all original songs, so there's a little more effort going on. So, like this album a little more than my least favorite Van Halen album, but I respect it a little less. So, so either way, not so great. So, moving on. Actually, it's a variation on this theme here of Dave doing covers. Although, admittedly, he sings them much better, and there's so much more energy on this. Because, of course, we're talking about 1985's Dave's solo debut, which is an EP. Here we go, 1985's Crazy from the Heat. Of course, a lot of people love this and have a lot of nostalgic feelings towards this. My brother had this on cassette. I remember him driving around his red Firebird, playing this, California Girls, Just a Gigolo. It's great. It's great fun stuff, fun, dumb stuff for the summertime. And Dave sings it all really well. It's only 4 songs. And it's all right if you think of it as an EP. Like if this was just like a side thing Dave was going to do on the side of Van Halen, it wouldn't be anything you would think much of. Kind of a fun thing, little fun thing for the summer, but nothing to build a career around, And this is definitely the side, like I said, the Vegas side of Dave that I'm not too thrilled with, but if he's going to do it, he does it well. Like, I do think the performance is better here. Obviously, he's younger and his voice is stronger on this. Coconut Grove is probably my favorite song on it, which is the last song and least known song on it. That has a nice vibe to it, nice sensual by the beach kind of vibe. I dig that song. But for the most part, I don't really listen to this. I don't need to listen to this. I've heard Just a Gigolo and California Girl so many times in my life, and I prefer the Beach Boys version to the Dave version. All of his versions, all right. I'm really just throwing this on because I feel like people are curious what I think of it, and because I'm trying to beef up this ranking. I think it's all right. I just think it's all right, but it's not something I listen to a lot. Okay, this is where we get into an album that I consider a little debated. Actually, not really debated, just generally disliked. But this is where some people, especially Sammy lovers, are going to think I'm too lenient on Dave. Sorry, believe me, I'm being objective here. I am being objective. But I like this album. I think it's underrated. When I first heard this album, though, I think my reaction was similar to a lot of people, but I've grown to like it, and I'm gonna make a case for it. An album I think is very underrated, and it's 1994's Your Filthy Little Mouth. Your Filthy Little Mouth, 1994. A lot of people don't like this album. A lot of people don't like it. And there are two clunkers on it. Don't get me wrong, there's two clunkers, and one's a really big clunker. But overall, I like it. And it's grown on me. Now, this is the thing. I will say this about the album. It's the ultimate bait and switch album. It starts off being one kind of album, a kind of album that I think most people would like, and especially rock fans. And then it goes into a totally different direction. So essentially, it starts off as a hard rock album and then makes a radical U-turn and becomes an eclectic pop album. Dave had already done an eclectic pop album before, Skyscraper, which we'll get to. But this, starts off as being kind of a raw or more hard, edgy record. And so, especially the first three songs. But then when it starts going in the direction that it goes into, starting with the fourth song, and never really goes back to being the kind of album it was in the beginning, I can imagine a lot of fans, especially hard rock and metal fans, were really pissed off at Dave. They were like, what the fuck, Dave? We thought this was going to be a Van Halen style, old school Van Halen style, ballsy hard rock album, and now you're giving us eclectic pop shit. And if you're only into hard rock and heavy metal, skip this album after the first three tracks. It's not for you. But I myself am a cat that likes a lot of different kinds of music. So I don't mind David Lee Roth being an eclectic pop guy. Also, that's not the same as him being Vegas variety show guy. Two different things. Eclectic pop is not the same as being some cornball guy singing old-timey songs. I'm a big Prince fan, for example. I like eclectic pop rock and a lot of different kinds of music. And Dave, for the most part, does all of it well. But let's start off with the hard rockin' tracks. It starts off with She's My Machine. That's a great rocker. Great, gritty rocker. I love it. Everybody's Got the Monkey. Woo, second track. My favorite song on the album. It's hard rockin'. It's funky. It's got that edge, man. I love it. Love it. Love that track. Big Train, good rockin' song. Dig that too. Experience. Now, this is where some people might get lost. This is where he might lose a lot of people. I dig Experience. I think it's a cool song. It's kind of this trippy, kind of jazzy song. It's got a lot of wisdom being dropped. I dig that song. Little Luck, I don't mind. Gina Heart Cafe. The quality starts to go down a little bit in the middle here, especially after Experience. There's a little bit of a dip. Not bad stuff, nothing bad, but it definitely loses some of the energy. And then one of the worst moments is No Big Ting. There's like this Jamaican Rasta guy. That's always a bad sign when you hear like the middle-aged white performer that brings in the Rasta man to give him some street cred. And it's horrible. It's horrible. It's not that good of a song either. And the Rasta man, I'm like, bad Dave. Keep that Rasta man away from the David Lee Roth stuff. Not good. That's pretty embarrassing. But, then it does, You're Breathing It. You're Breathing It's like a good rock song. I dig it. It's fun. Your Filthy Little Mouth. I like it. He starts winning me back again after this kind of saggy middle. I like Your Filthy Little Mouth. That's like a fun, ZZ Top-ish kind of bluesy rock song. Good lyrics. I dig that. He does a very nice cover of Nightlife, the Willie Nelson song. A cover that also Thin Lizzy did a really nice cover of this too. I don't think a lot of people realize that this Thin Lizzy song, Nightlife, was originally, it was a Willie Nelson song that Willie Nelson wrote. I'm a huge Willie Nelson fan and Thin Lizzy fan, and actually every version of this song I like. I like Willie's original, I like Thin Lizzy's version, and I like Dave's version. And I think Dave's vocals are still pretty strong on this album, and it shows that he's very eclectic. He can sing in different ways, and I think he does this really good. Does a good country song. Another one of my favorite songs on the album, Sunburn, the song that should have ended this album. It's a nice, jazzy, soulful song. And this is the thing too, people say Sammy has more range than David Lee Roth. Well, man, that depends on what kind of range you're talking about. There's all different kinds of singing and all different kinds of songs that people sing. Yeah, Sammy Hagar can sing a song like Dreams, and David Lee Roth probably couldn't have pulled that off. But I don't think Sammy could have pulled off a song like Sunburn or Nightlife, you know? That's the thing. David Lee Roth, you know, he does this crooning thing, and he has a soul influence. And so there's different ways. If you see range as just how high you could hit a note, like this more technical thing, if you have a more technical way of viewing what range is, I don't have that. To me, range is about being eclectic and how many different kinds of songs you can sing. And in that regard, I think David Lee Roth has more range than Sammy Hagar, because he could sing many different kinds of songs and bring different personalities to these songs. Whereas Sammy pretty much has one personality, or in Gary Sharon's case, he doesn't have any personality. But David Lee Roth, there's a lot of different sides to Dave. I mean, and just like, you know, listen to like Everybody's Got the Monkey, and then you listen to Sunburn. To me, that's great range. Great range. And this is a really eclectic, cool album that I think people are hard on because they're not really into like pop music and they want Dave just to do hard rock. But this is a really cool record, and it's really out of step with the times for the most part. And what's interesting is every Dave solo album literally comes out the same year as a Van Halen album. Eat 'Em and Smile and 5150 both come out in 1986. Skyscraper and OU812 come out in 1988. A Little Ain't Enough and Fuck come out in 1991. And then DLL Band and Van Halen 3 came out in 1998. The only two albums that don't coincide exactly are Balance and Your Filthy Little Mouth. Filthy Little Mouth's 94 and Balance is 95. Close, they're pretty close, but they didn't quite hit the same year. But all the other albums do. And then Dave only has like one other album, which is Diamond Dave in 2003. So it seemed like almost like there was, I'd say maybe a little competition, like one heard the other was in the studio, so it made the other go. Something was going on. And it's interesting because it's kind of like the albums are having a conversation with each other. They're having like an argument with each other. The first couple solo John Lennon and Paul McCartney albums are like this too. They're having a conversation with each other. Literally in some cases, like Ram and Imagine, they're actually trading shots at each other. And I think in a kind of more subtle way, Van Halen was doing this to David Lee Roth. Of course, OU812 is a response to Eat 'Em and Smile, at least with the title. So they're having this conversation, which is very interesting. All the albums kind of reflect each other in a way, which I'm going to get to. Each solo Dave album reflects the corresponding Van Halen album, whether by being its opposite or in some cases being kind of similar. And the only time that doesn't really happen is the 1 year where they're off. Balance and Your Filthy Little Mouth don't really feel like they're talking to each other. They're both kind of just lost in the 90s, kind of scrambling to do something that's relevant. Van Halen more so. I feel like they're caving in a little more to the doom and gloom and self-importance of the mid-90s. And Dave's kind of pushing that aside, to his credit. And it feels like that's the only time they're not really talking to each other musically. But maybe that in itself is a conversation. Maybe Dave's saying, hey, I'm not getting all doom and gloomy because it's the mid-90s like you guys. Maybe that is a kind of preemptive conversation he's having with Balance, although Balance didn't come out yet. So it's an interesting thing to think about. But anyway, Your Filthy Little Mouth, I dig it. I think it's a good album. Not great. Sags a bit in the middle, has a couple clunkers. Yeah, and by the way, at the end, I said Sunburn should have ended it because there's a You're Breathing It, Urban NYC mix. It's like a dance mix of You're Breathing It, which is totally unnecessary and kind of shitty. And I just kind of think of that as a bonus track anyway. So you could just kind of throw that in the trash. So two clunkers, a kind of average middle, but starts off strong and ends strong. And if you're into different kinds of music, I think you should give it a shot again. Okay, then we get into, from 1988, Skyscraper. Skyscraper. Oh, I got a lot of different feelings about this album. If you want to admit it or not, this is for better or worse, and I think for the most part for better. This is Dave's OU812. If we're thinking of his solo career, as his beginning, a new beginning, and Van Hagar, like 5150s, they're the new beginning. Both have a album which I would say suffers from the sophomore slump, OU812 is not as good as 5150, and it leans more into the pop side with more synthesizers, and overall it's not as punchy and as strong as 5150. Well, likewise, you can say that about Skyscraper. It's not as punchy, it's definitely not as rockin', and it's not as strong overall as Eat 'Em and Smile. So there's definitely a downgrade, and there's more keyboards, and it leans a little more into the pop sides. And both albums, I think, have weak productions. I don't like the production in this album. I think it suffers from that kind of late 80s, too slick, not ballsy enough sounding. I mean, just listen to how Eat 'Em and Smile's produced versus how this is produced. However, for the most part, I do think the songs are better on this album. I only like 2 songs on OU812, and the rest, not for me. Whereas for the most part, I like pretty much every song but one song. And this album has grown on me. I originally used to not like this album. I thought, this is a big drop-off after Eat 'Em and Smile. And I just couldn't get into it. But recently, I've been listening to this a lot, and I've kind of really started to like it. And I think one key thing is, don't think of this album as a metal or hard rock album. If you think of it in those terms, it's going to fall short. What I started to think of this album as is kind of a weird psychedelic pop rock album or pop album. It's more of a pop album, but it's an interesting pop album. In a lot of ways, it's kind of like Dave's Around the World in a Day. The Prince album, Around the World in a Day. It's vaguely psychedelic, it's poppy, but the songs are kind of catchy, and there's an undercurrent of experimentation going on. There's a little bit of an experimental edge that pops up here and there. It's even a little jazzy in spots. But let's talk about the songs. We got Knuckle Bones, good rock track. I don't know if it's the strongest opener in the world, but it's a good track. I like it. I mean, compared to Yankee Rose, yeah, it's not the statement that song was. But it's a good track. It's a good rocker. Just Like Paradise, the big hit from the album, and one of Dave's biggest hits. I like the song. It's catchy. It's probably my second least favorite song on the album. I think it's a catchy, memorable song, but there's nothing about it that's distinctly Dave. It's very generic. It's like generic 80s pop rock. It could be Loverboy. This could be a Loverboy song. It'd be a good Loverboy song, but it's just, it's generic. But he was writing a song just to be played on the radio, so I guess mission accomplished there, Dave. It's an all right song. The Bottom Line. Now we're talking. I love this song. Yeah, I wish the production was a little ballsier, but I really love it. This calls to mind something I forgot. In my drunken state, when I finally got to talking about Van Halen's Fair Warning, which was very high on my list, I was pretty well toasted by that point, let's just say. And I forgot to mention one song from that album, and that's Sinner Swing. Sinner Swing, I love. That's a great song. I felt bad that I didn't mention it, but awesome song. But I remember when I did the Rock and Metal Combat podcast tribute to Eddie Van Halen, and we did our top 25 Van Halen songs. Ryan T. Russell, shout out to you, brother, Ryan T. Russell, big Van Halen fan, guy knows his shit. And he brought up something interesting about Sinner Swing. He brought up that Get Out and Push chorus that is very similar to kind of a shout and response kind of melody in soul music. In soul music, the backing singers come in and kind of shout a response to the singer, and just the rhythm of it and the feeling of it, it's very soul. Even though it's a metal song and it's rocking, there's this soul influence that Dave brought with the band, and that Michael and Eddie with their backing vocals, you would sometimes get that vibe. You also have it in like a Hot for Teacher, where there's back and forth thing. Hot for Teacher is a great example of this, the back and forth thing, the call and response. And the Bottom Line confirms Ryan T. Russell's theory about this, because the bottom line is he actually gets backup girl singers that sound like soul singers to do that. And they do that in the bottom line where he's singing and then they sing. And even though it's a rockin' song, kind of like Sinner Swing, it's this hard rockin' song, there's this soul influence that's injected into it. So, Dave's a soul man. He loves that shit. And the bottom line, I think it's a really good combination. Normally, I don't like when they bring in like R&B singers into like a rock song like this. But I know it works. Dave makes it work. It all works. The vibe's great. I love that song. Probably I'd say my third favorite on the album. Skyscraper. I'm not crazy about the song. Kind of jazzy, experimental. It's all right. I kind of respect it because it's unique, but it's not one of my favorite songs from the album. Damn Good. Now that's my favorite song on the album. I love Damn Good. It is damn good. Again, this is that whole other side, that side of Dave where he can do this, the crooning, a ballad, but it's a soulful, trippy kind of ballad. It's folky with a vague psychedelia beneath the surface. And I find it very spiritual. And it's a very beautiful song. And it's like relishing life. That's the thing. Dave relishes life. And this is a great relish life song. Hot Dog and Shake, kind of weird. It's interesting because he's got Steve Vai playing on this album. And Steve Vai used to, for a brief period there, play with Frank Zappa. And this song almost sounds like a Zappa song to me. There's a little bit of a Zappa-esque quality to a lot of these songs, especially 80s Zappa. Interesting. It's a weird song. I dig it. It's weird. Stand Up. Don't like it. This is a throwaway 80s pop song, kind of like Just Like Paradise, but it's not as strong or as memorable in its chorus. It's kind of a throwaway song, and it has like a synth bass. And this is the thing. He drove away Billy Sheehan, one of the best bassists, and they were such a great band. I mean, he had a band of Steve Vai and Billy Sheehan, both trading licks, which was amazing. And Dave wanted to go in this more pop direction and start using synth basses. And before you know it, Billy Sheehan was like, he plays on some of these tracks and he's credited, but he didn't play on songs like this. Is obviously a synth bass. And Billy was like, nah, not for me. Dude, you're kind of insulting me. Like, here I am, one of the best bass players in the world, and you want to replace me with a synth bass. So Billy was like, fuck that, and he went off and he started Mr. Big. And he's not even featured in the videos. But Steve Vai, at least Steve Vai's there, and he does do a really cool solo. That's the only thing I'll say about Stand Up, is it has a really great Steve Vai solo on it. Then we get to my second favorite song on the album, Hina. Love this song. Ooh, very different. Kind of a trippy, psychedelic 80s rock song. That's all I could say. It sounds almost like kind of like something Susie and the Banshees would have done during this period. And I dig me some Susie and the Banshees, so I don't mind that. It's a very interesting song, very trippy and kind of magical. And man, really great. Perfect timings. Don't really like that. That's kind of a throwaway track. Two Fools a Minute. I dig that song. That's another one kind of like the bottom line where it kind of mixes the hard rock and the soul influence. Also a little jazz. It gets very jazzy at the end. Somehow it all works. I like it. I think this album really could use like a remix. I wish they would remix it to kind of beef it up a little bit. But, that's pretty much it. I do like it. I think it's a good album and it's grown on me. I can understand why a lot of hard rock fans and heavy metal fans were disappointed, especially coming off of Eat 'Em and Smile. But if you're open-minded to like more experimental music and pop rock and pop music and some R&B and jazz and new wave, if you're interested in different kinds of music, I think you'll appreciate Skyscraper for being the eclectic offbeat album that it is. And now we're getting into the top 3. Woo! Top 3. Now this is an album fans of hard rock and heavy metal should love and should be listening to a lot. But, I don't hear this album get talked about too much, but they should. That's 1998's DLR Band. DLR Band. Man, this is... okay, let's get into it. Love the album cover. It's fun. It's straight up. Now, this might maybe fans of like 80s hair metal and stuff that just like their stuff a little slicker. This might be too raw for them. It's a very raw album. It's the rawest album Dave ever did, even including with Van Halen. This is a rawer than any Van Halen album. It sounds almost garage. It's like, and the idea was like he wanted to write all these songs and record them fast in just a couple weeks. And he had a very talented guitarist with him. He had John Five, who a lot of people might know from Marilyn Manson and Rob Zombie, a very talented guitarist. And, Dave, kind of like Ozzy Osbourne, he was always good at finding really great guitarists to play with. And it's a good combination. I wish these guys did more albums together, just like I wish Dave and Steve Vai did more albums together. Him and John Five do some good shit together. Anyway, so it's a very raw album. And like I said, if Skyscraper and OU812 are kind of like the parallel albums, well, this is the parallel album with Van Halen 3. And this confirms my theory that I wish Dave was the singer for Van Halen 3. Because, man, some people might think his vocals aren't great on this. I think they're good. Is he singing the way he was in the 80s or even the early 90s? No. But, man, the guy still has attitude. He still has swagger. He's still writing cool lyrics. This guy... And he sounds great on top of this raw music. Now, Van Halen 3 is likewise a raw record, a raw sounding record. Not quite as raw as this, but Eddie's stripping things down and getting rawer than he had been, especially more so than he was in Van Hagar. And I hear that music on Van Halen 3 and I think, gee, this guy singing on this album would have been great singing on that album. It's like they're both doing let's get down and dirty, straight up rock music again. It's just sad. I'd like to think, I love this album, but at the same time, part of me says, God, if only him and Eddie came together and it would have been like this meets Van Halen 3. And that would have been awesome. That would have been an awesome album. But in Van Halen 3, unfortunately, he has this singer that I didn't like, Gary Coronavirus. And it ruined what could have been a really good Van Halen album. This, on the other hand, has David Lee Roth singing, so it doesn't get ruined. It's awesome. I love this album. This is a great album. The last two albums I think were good. This is now great. So we got 3 great David Lee Roth albums. One might even be a masterpiece. But this album's not a masterpiece, but it's more than good. It's great. It's a great, ballsy, raw album. What I love about it, too, is even though it's clearly Dave's answer for first attempt at a Van Halen reunion falling apart, so he's like, fuck it. They're not going to do it. I'll do a Van Halen style, down and dirty rock record, especially since people didn't like that last eclectic pop album I did. So he does it, puts his band together, plays with various guitarists on it, and they create this down and dirty hard rock metal album. But to their credit, it's not like a total nostalgic album. Even though some of these songs do have a Van Halen-esque quality to it, there's a little bit of a kind of a mid to late 90s grungy element. Not in the sense of the mood. It's not like depressing grunge. It's very true to Dave. There's a touch of, I would just say, a touch of a 90s kind of garage edge and darkness to some of the guitar work on this album. And just the fact that it's so stripped down and raw sounding in itself is a little bit of a 90s thing compared to the 80s. It's updated without Dave surrendering his personality. And that's kind of an ideal situation. So bravo on that. Slam dunk, great opener, a lot of fun. Blacklight's a good song. I'm not crazy about that chorus. That's the only thing I'll say about it. I always wish that I think Dave could have sang that chorus kind of differently in a better way. Counterblast, great song. Lose the dress, keep the shoes. Fun song, good lyrics. Little Texas, my favorite song on the album. Love this song. It's bluesy and heavy at the same time. Does this kind of bluesy ZZ Top thing, which I'm guessing David Lee Roth must be a ZZ Top fan, because even going back to Van Halen, he was always doing songs kind of like this, like the Full Bug and stuff. But then it gets really heavy in the chorus, and it has this wall, guitar sound. I love it. Great chorus, great song, sexy and heavy all at the same time. It's great. King of the Hill, it's a good song. Going Places, nice, almost Zeppelin-esque kind of bluesy, folky kind of song. Love that song. Wah Wah's that's great. Has great kind of AC/DC-ish powerage type chords to it. I love it. Great rocker. Relentless, probably my second favorite song on the album. Heavy. Man, ballsy. This is ballsy Van Halen 2, Women and Children First, Fair Warning kind of shit. It's it's just ballsy. Ballsy. Love the guitar work. John Five does great guitar work on this, and Dave sounds great. He's belting it out. Man, this is some righteous rock and roll. I love that. Right tool for the job. Weekend with the Babysitter ends on a really great song. My third favorite song on the album, Black Sand. It's this epic track. It's kind of folky and grows and gets hard rocking. Again, a little Zeppelin-esque. But it's also got a little touch of alternative rock to it. A little touch of 90s alternative rock, but again, without Dave losing his personality. Again, the guy who was on Skyscraper showed that, he liked doing this trippy psychedelic stuff sometimes. And Black Sand's a great epic track. I love it. It's a great way to end this album. And this is a great album, and more people should listen to it. And if you don't mind rawness, if you don't mind raw production, then definitely listen to it, because it's a great album. I love it. Too bad that then a couple years later he did Diamond Dave. Come on, Dave. Come on. Keep rocking. All right. Then we're getting into the top 2. Okay. Now this album is great. Really great. Even more great than the last album. And it boggles my mind that more people don't love this album. I get why it wasn't a hit in 1991. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But we are talking about number 2 is A Little Ain't Enough. I love this album, and it's kept growing on me more and more over the years. If you're curious about how I compare these albums to the Van Halen and Van Hagar albums, I will say this. I would put Filthy Little Mouth ahead of every Van Hagar album except for 5150. I wouldn't put it over that album. Same Skyscraper. I wouldn't put Skyscraper over 5150. I would put the LR Band over 5150. I'd give that an edge. A Little Ain't Enough. I'll be honest. I mean, I'm not saying objectively I think it's better, but just what I like and listen to more, I dig this more than 1984. So there. Even beats a classic Dave era Van Halen album. Yeah, I would give this an edge on 1984. Maybe not all the other ones. Maybe not the first 5 or Different Kind of Truth. But I'd give it an edge on 1984. I think it's a little more hard rocking for the most part. And it's a very strong collection of songs. And normally this is like the CD age where you have where I think some of the songs have, a lot of the albums had filler. There's no filler on this album. I think they're all good or great tracks. It's a pity, because it is about timing is everything. And this is really where his album sales start to drop. I do think it suffered a bit from Skyscraper, because Skyscraper had sold well, because everyone that loved Eat 'Em and Smile went out and bought that, and they had the crossover pop hit with, Just Like Paradise. But a lot of rock fans were disappointed in it. So I don't think they were eager for his next album when it came out. So I do think that hurt this one a little bit, because this is overall a much stronger album than Skyscraper, in my opinion, with a much better production. Bob Rock produced it. It's one of his best productions. I think it's an amazing production, very punchy. It's both slick but has an edge at the same time. It's a great production. Could be, I think, his best production. I think this is Bob Rock's best production. I think this is a stronger album than For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, but I think both of these albums, again, they parallel each other. They're both a mission statement that, hey, maybe we were getting a little soft or weak on that last album. Let's step up our game a little bit with kind of a beefier production, stronger songs, and a little more hard rocking for the most part. Again, the conversation's continuing. But whereas that album obviously was a huge hit, because Van Halen with Van Hagar was more reined in right out of the gate. Without Dave, they weren't as fabulous, they weren't as in your face and didn't have that old timey entertainment Vegas streak that Dave had. So as a result, they could transition at least into the early 90s smoother and better than Dave could. And I don't think it helped Dave that the first song and video was the title track, A Little Ain't Enough. Now, don't get me wrong. I love this song, and I really love that video. It's great, especially nowadays in our very politically correct culture. It is a wild video to watch. It's hilarious. It's like a parody of an 80s video. The problem, though, is it came out in 1991. Now, one thing that annoys me is when everyone acts like it's all just about Nirvana. They go, oh, because Nirvana came out, Nevermind came out the same year, and that was it for Dave. Listen, Nirvana was an important band, and they were a factor, and they were definitely the final nail on the coffin of hair metal. No doubt about it. But hair metal was already in the casket. It was already laying in the casket by the time Nirvana came and nailed it shut. By 1991, even before Nirvana, you had Metallica's The Black Album was all over MTV. Alice in Chains, Man in the Box was already a hit song. And there was already bands like Faith No More and Red Hot Chili Peppers. And the tide was already turning. It was already, I'd say it started turning back with Guns N' Roses. You know, that they were moving away from what was seen as more frivolous hair metal and getting a little meatier. Music was getting a little meatier, more of a 70s influence was emerging. Older bands like Aerosmith and AC/DC had comebacks. It was definitely already moving in that direction, regardless of Nevermind. By 1991, Dave, and definitely Warner Brothers, the record label, should have known that video with Dave acting like a goofball, running around in spandex and hot chicks all around him and all that stuff going on, that wasn't going to fly with the 1991 crowd. They should have known then. They didn't need hindsight. It didn't need to say, oh, we didn't know that Nirvana was going to be coming out. It was already considered lame to have a video like this. I'm telling you, I was there. I remember young Edwin watching this video and thinking, oh, wow, that's such an 80s video. I thought that in 1991. I thought, wow, that's such an 80s video. That shit was already out. Even Motley Crue was doing like Primal Scream and stuff by that point. Everyone had started to change up their shit. All right? So it was unfortunate that Dave leads off with the most, although a great track, but the most 80s sounding song on the album and did this ultra 80s kind of video. Whereas if it's Showtime was the lead off track with an edgier, ballsier kind of early 90s style video, I think people would have given this album far more of a chance. And it's funny because you could tell that almost immediately they switched gears with the videos because, you know, then you got Sensible Shoes and a great track. And Sensible Shoes, man, that should have been a much bigger hit. That's like a classic song. That's like a classic standard. That should be like a standard now, in my opinion. That's like one, like he's writing on a whole other level. To me, that's one of the greatest songs that David Lee Roth ever co-wrote. It's an amazing song. Love the lyrics, love everything. Funny thing is that video, though, it's so early 90s. You know, it's that black and white, and Dave's now like, you know, more subdued, and he's like on a chair, and it's in the shadows, a little film noirish, you know, and it looks like a Cranberries video. It's like a different vibe. So instantly, Warner Brothers was like, oh shit, no one liked that real flashy, colorful, cheesecake-filled Dave video. So let's go in the different direction. So they got hip to that, and Tell the Truth was likewise a more low-keyed black and white video. Dave wore a hat, you know, and ponytail. It's as if Dave, with A Little Ain't Enough, like flashed his dick to everyone. He flashed his dick to all the MTV early 90s kids, and they were all like, we don't want to see a dick. And then Warner Brothers quickly ran, you know, over to Dave and were like, Dave, put your dick away. Put your dick away. They're not into that anymore. Quick, shoot him in black and white. Quick. But yeah, so unfortunate. But yeah, I definitely think they should have, it's Showtime should have been the lead-off single. And then Sensible Shoes could have been like the second single and so forth. And a lot of these songs I think could have been singles. It's a really catchy album. It's really catchy. That's the thing. Even without A Little Ain't Enough, they could have had a lot of great singles from this album. I just don't think it was the way to go. Although it is a great opening track. And hell, it's party time, man. I love it. So regardless of what I think commercially they should have done back in 1991, none of that matters anymore, all right? That was just my opinion of how they should have played it commercially. But now we're just talking about this creatively, and creatively, this holds up. This is fucking timeless, well-crafted, well-produced, eclectic hard rock music. And to me, it shows up for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. I don't care to fuck sold more. All I know is that this, and that has some good songs on it. I said that in my video, that I like some of the songs on that, and that's I think, the second best Van Hagar album. But this, song for song, on a different level. The guitarist that replaced Steve Vai now for his third album. Steve Vai, of course, he left Dave, did some solo stuff, did an album with Whitesnake. Dave replaces him with this really talented guitarist, Jason Becker. Very sad, because Jason Becker, it's kind of like a Mark St. John scenario, like with Kiss. He records all the guitar tracks and does an amazing job, and very eclectic guitar work. Actually, more eclectic, I would say, than Steve Vai. He's not quite playing on that level, but he's got more range, doing different kinds of music, and it's really impressive guitar work. But then Jason Becker, as soon as they finished the album, he got Lou Gehrig's disease, and then he couldn't tour or do anything else. So that's very sad. Very sad that happened to this very talented guitarist. Because I could hear he would have been he would have made Your Filthy Little Mouth would have been a better album if this guy was playing on it. But anyway, so it starts off great. Little Ain't Enough, Shoot It. I love this song. Some people might not like those Aerosmith style horns. Hey, works for me. I love it. It's funky. It's fun. Shoot It, great. Lady Luck, great bluesy kind of rock song. Hammerhead Shark. Love this song. Love it. I love Hammerhead Sharks. I once recited a poem written by Michael Madsen about a hammerhead shark. Some of you might recall. Hammerhead. Man, I think the hammerhead shark is the most bizarre looking creature I've ever seen. What is the deal with that head? What was God up to with that one? Get out a shark book and look one up. Take a long look. It's crazy. It makes me crazy. Kind of like it got itself caught in an underwater vice, smashing its head into a hammer-like silhouette. Love hammerhead sharks. Badass shark. My second favorite shark. Maybe one day I'll do a Rank-A-Rama, a shark Rank-A-Rama. And that's one of the reasons why I moved to Tampa. I moved to Tampa because I heard there was a lot of hammerhead sharks here. And isn't that badass? So anyway, great song, great rock and roll-y kind of song. Love that. Tell the Truth was one of the singles. Cool bluesy song. Kind of a Black Velvet kind of vibe. I dig it. Sexy. This is sexy music. Dave is making sexy love-making music. If you don't like it, you don't like making love. 40 Below. 40 Below is the only, I would say it's the weakest track on this album. It's kind of a filler track, but a filler rocker track. But hey, it does its job. It's all right. Keeps the party going. Sensible Shoes. You already know what I think about that. I think that's a goddamn classic. Should be a standard. Lounge singers all over the world should be singing this song. I love it. Last Call. Another song that would have been a badass single, I think. Man, that song's tough. It's a tough sounding song. It's badass drinking song. Now this is the guy, Dave, that sang Bottoms Up and Take Your Whiskey Home and Romeo Delight. Yeah, he's bringing it with Last Call, man. That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. Dogtown Shuffle. I dig this song. It's got a deep groove, kind of the pop side, the experimental pop side, but man, it's got a rock and roll soul. I love that song. It's Showtime. My favorite song on the album, man. It's why I opened up the show with it. It is fucking killer. Yeah, now this song is obviously him going for a classic Van Halen style rocker. But man, they nail it. The guitar work's amazing. The energy's there. This is it, man. This is rock and roll. This sounds more Van Halen than anything Van Hagar did. Or Van Corona did. All right? Anything they did. This is it, man. Dave just can turn it on with this band. It's made. Why didn't you make more albums like this, Dave? You should have made more albums like this. And then it's funny because this album has essentially it's like 4 songs that could have been great last 4 songs all after each other. You got Last Call. That could have been a great last song. Dogtown Shuffle. That could have been a great last song. It's Showtime. That could have been a great last song. Drop in the Bucket. It's a great last song. So there you go. Another great last song. That's a great, starts off bluesy, gets really hard rocking. Love it. Dave's really great with this hard blues rock stuff. I love it. He's got a great voice for it. His singing's strong. The performance is strong. The production's strong. The songs are strong. Everything's working on this album. And the more you listen to it, the more you realize he hit it out of the park with this. And if people weren't lame, and if perhaps they had a more appropriate lead-off single and video for 1991, I think this could have been a much bigger album. It should have been. But anyway, it's a big album to me, and that's what counts. All right, we're getting to number 1. We all know what it is. Come on, everyone knows what the number 1 greatest David Lee Roth album is. So get out your glazed donuts and let's get weird. I'm going to get one more beer. Oh yeah. So here we go. Cheers. Got a little Miller Lite, but there's nothing light about my feelings about this album. Number 1. Eat 'em and Smile. Yeah, there we go. Great album cover, great title. Oh fuck! Like OU812, they were like trying, like it was owning this album. Fucking, I don't care, and I don't care about record sales. Van Hagar should have been embarrassed that they were even referencing this album. The only album of theirs that even comes remotely close is 5150, and it's only remotely close. All right, there is no question that this is better than anything Van Halen did without David Lee Roth, and that's with all total respect to Eddie Van Halen. But ultimately, it comes down to the songs, and these songs just fucking pummel the songs on 5150. And I like that album. I think it's a good album, but it's not a great album, and it's definitely not a masterpiece. And this is. It's a masterpiece. That's right. Eat 'Em and Smile is one of my favorite albums of all time. And it always has been, ever since I first heard it. For a long time, I was really hard on his subsequent albums because I was always comparing them to this album. I do think A Little Ain't Enough comes the closest. Obviously, it was number 2. But even that can't reach the heights of this album. This album is a masterpiece. I think it's a masterpiece. In fact, the only thing that Dave has ever been part of that I think is better are the first 4 Van Halen albums. That's right. I would put the first 4 Van Halen albums above this album, but that's it. I would put this actually even above A Different Kind of Truth and Dive Her Down. This, to me, is the 5th best thing David Lee Roth ever did with or without Van Halen. And only the first 4 Van Halen albums are better. That's high praise indeed. This is a goddamn rock and roll extravaganza. It starts off with the greatest opener on a fucking album ever. Yeah, that's right, I said it. Yankee Rose. He's fucking talking to Billy and Steve's guitars, the bass and guitars. It's awesome. Love it. Love it. The song, the melody, the production. So ballsy. I wish Skyscraper had a production like this. This production's amazing. Song's so catchy. Love the video, the attitude, the song. I love Panama. This is better than Panama. He fucking owned Van Halen just with this song alone. This is fucking awesome. Then you got Shy Boy. Woo! Man, that song cooks. It's fucking cooks like nobody's business. Billy Sheehan wrote this one. Good job, Mr. Sheehan. That fucking kicks ass, that song. Love it. Then it does a I'm Easy. And let's just think, this is now the Vegas side of Dave. But on this album, you only get a little bit of it. It's just like a little splash here and there. And it's fun because it's not a whole album of it. And it's got an energy to it. So even though it's like a Vegas-y cover old school song, there's an energy to it. It like keeps the party going. There's a little touch of rockabilly to it. I love it. And Dave's vocals are great. And it's fun. And it keeps the party going. And then we get to Ladies Night in Buffalo. My favorite track on this album. One of my favorite things that David Lee Roth ever co-wrote. It's amazing. He wrote this one with Steve Vai. Steve Vai brings in this like jazziness, which I love. And it's got this attitude and the mood. The guitar playing, Steve Vai, some of his best playing is on this album. It's amazing stuff. An amazing song. This should be a standard too, kind of like Sensible Shoes. To me, Ladies Night in Buffalo should be being sung by lounge lizards all over the world. I love Ladies Night in Buffalo. It's great, and it's got an edge to it too. Even though there's a loungy, jazzy side to it, there's still kind of a hard rock attitude to it and swagger. It's smoky. I love it. Going Crazy, that's the poppiest song on the album. That's him trying to do kind of more of a jump style 1984 kind of song. It's got the synthesizer on it. It's a great song. I love it. It's probably one of the weaker tracks on it, but on this album, one of the weaker tracks is still a great track. It's awesome. I love it. Tobacco Road, we have another cover. I wish the covers on Diamond Dave sounded like this. Woo! It rocks. This is better than the original. I love this version of the song. It's hard rock, and this band he put together is so kick-ass. It sounds amazing. I love the song. Love the production. Elephant Gun. Badass metal tune. Badass. Sounds tough as hell. And then my second favorite song on the album, Big Trouble. Man, David Lee Roth and Steve Vai wrote some great songs together. Man, why didn't they stick together? Man, it was amazing shit. This is like Eddie Van Halen and David Lee Roth shit. Man, it's amazing. Love Big Trouble. It starts, and this is a little bit like the heavy side and the jazzy kind of cool side. They come together, and in a really smooth, cohesive way. Man, and Dave's vocals on it, he sounds so badass. This is Dave's peak as a vocalist, is this album. His singing is on a whole other level. So much, and this is the thing about Sammy, listen, man, And again, Sammy, he had his moments, but he's not in the same league as Dave. Listen to fucking Big Trouble, man. That is fucking, he's on point. That is intense, soulful, badass shit, man. That's what Big Trouble is. Bump and grind, no heavy song, love it, but heavy, but with a soul groove. That's the thing. That's the thing Dave does. He mixes the metal and the rock and roll and the soul and the groove and the jazz. He mixes all together, and it becomes an entertainment extravaganza. And you're making babies with it. Boom. And then he ends it all with That's Life, classic old tune. Frank Sinatra sang it. Not as great as the Frank Sinatra version, but still pretty damn good. Dave sings it really well, and it's a fun way to end the album. Very appropriate song for Dave to sing. It has the right attitude. And I love how gonzo it is. I love that. And I think it works better than Diver Down overall. I think this is better than Diver Down. It's just the right amount of Vegas shtick. It's a flawless album. Flawless album. Hits every beat perfectly. It's David Lee Roth riding high at the peak of his career. He peaks outside of Van Halen. I think Van Halen's peak, well, yeah, hey, watch Rank-A-Rama to find out where I think their peak was. But David Lee Roth on his own had another outside of Van Halen peak, and it's this album. It was his first full-length album. So yes, he peaked early in his solo career, and he never matched it again. But obviously, I have a relatively high opinion of all his subsequent albums, except for Diamond Dave. That one wasn't, that one's not so hot. But hey, we'll forgive you, Dave, for that album. And man, thank you for this album. Thank you for all the great music you did with Van Halen. You're a national treasure. I wish you put out more music. It would have been nice. But, I know you're Dave. You're running off. You're having adventures. You're doing martial arts. You're climbing mountains. You're going to Japan. You got a busy life. I get it. There's only so many awesome albums you can record, and then you got to just go off and have an awesome life. That's the message. That's the big message that David Lee Roth is trying to tell us all. Go live life. Listen to awesome music. Maybe have a few albums that change music as we know it. Do that. Go and create art that changes, go and create a wonderful art that changes culture as we know it. And then go off and have fun. Have fun, Do it, baby. This is life. I got nothing but love in my heart for humanity. And that's the thing. Humanity, rock and roll, passion, love, beer, enjoy it, baby. Diamond Dave. That's how he wants us to live, and that's how we should all live. There you are. There you go. That's my ranking of the Diamond Dave discography. Cheers. See you later.